All right, what's going on? I really hope that my audio is coming through. I was having issues with Chrome, having issues with Firefox. So let me know if you can hear me okay. All right, cool. Very good. Yeah, for some reason, just my settings, it's just really weird shit. Like I can't hear my music through my fucking headphones. It's so strange. But anyways, we're here now. And I'm gonna have to contact StreamYard to see what the fuck is going on with them. But anyways, here we are talking about. We're gonna talk about how women are making you sick, and it's kind of messed up because you don't even know that you're sick, because a lot of times when it comes to mental illnesses. Let me just turn off my ringer. When it comes to mental illnesses, one often doesn't know that they are sick because they've just been that way for so long. And it just doesn't come across as much of a problem. Oh shit, where's my drink? Oh, hold on just 1 second. Pardon me. All right. Got this fire fucking seltzer. I'm a seltzer drinker. Don't really drink soda. Just seltzer and water. But orange pineapple seltzer. This shit is fucking awesome. But anyways, yeah, women can make you sick, and the illness comes in the form of the way you think. Well, I guess I don't need this shit anymore. So yeah, the illness comes by way of how you think, and then this in turn it'll warp the way you perceive things, and therefore it'll change your habits, your behaviors, your perspectives, and so on and so forth, right? And I call this a gynocentric lens. And there was a friend of mine, I was trying to instruct him about it and explain to him what a gynocentric lens is, and he actually did a lot of research, went to AI as an overview. And a gynocentric lens, as stated, is a way of viewing the world that prioritizes the experiences, perspectives, and needs of women. And I suppose, I don't know, I suppose it's a rebranding of Blue Pill, rebranding of Nice Guy. But I think when you put it in this context of a lens that you have on your face, okay, that's a gynocentric lens. And this shows how you are thinking, how you are seeing the world, how you are seeing things outside of you. And when you look in the mirror, how you see yourself. And this really, really fucks things up. And the funny thing is that you don't really understand quite how infected you are until you start seeing things in a different way. Okay, and things will become much, much more apparent to you. So, so my friend here was just talking about, how he started waking up, because at first I was talking to him about it, and I'm like, dude, and I just really started breaking it down for him and showing him through his messaging to me how he was thinking and how gynocentric his mind really is. And he kept pushing back, and eventually I was like, look, it's like, just sit with it. And he did. And he did research and started looking around, and he's a very research-oriented person, so he just kind of did his own way. Okay, I kind of come in with a sledgehammer, and that's about all I do. But he was doing his research and psychology stuff and all that stuff, and he's like, oh shit, like, and he just started waking up to what he had become over the years without actually knowing it. And and so the problem is that, I was kind of making a joke earlier, and I was saying that, to these guys, I was saying that, you heard me talk about gynocentric lenses, and which is basically the perception and choices that are heavily influenced by what women are doing in an attempt to figure them out, because you see them as this mystery to solve so you can get what you need from them. And if too much time is spent with these lenses on your face, a guy will start to think and behave more woman-like. And you keep these lenses on longer, and they become what I call scrotum-centric lenses. Bear with me, okay? So meaning after long gynocentric lens wearing, okay, you start seeing things that you would rather not see. And then you mix this with not getting what you want, okay? So this is like basically the large majority of, say, like red pill guys, MGTOW guys, manosphere guys. There's that bit of bitterness that's riding just underneath the surface against women. And so there's that resentment and bitterness mixed with looking at things through this gynocentric lens, which then turns into scrotum-centric. And meaning after a long gynocentric lens wearing, resentment of women will develop, and women become distasteful, eventually to the point of having no taste at all, to the point where you don't want to even eat them. You don't want to consume women anymore. Then while surrounded, like all the while, like while this is all happening and processing, because it's not like flipping on a light switch, it's something that occurs over a long period of time, right? It's an absorption process. And then you really aren't surrounded by women. Like a lot of these guys are surrounded by only men who are just like them. And they're surrounded by guys who have gone through the same, they've done the same with these lenses, and they're feeling disillusioned, disenfranchised by women, and then they bond with other men by way of frustration and sorrow. And then soon, the trust and compassion towards each other develops. And it can, not saying that it will, but it can get to the point where there is attraction. Because there's no other outlet, okay? So there's still that desire to be with, okay? Because that's just what humans do. We have just a natural inclination to be together. And if you're straight, it's of the opposite sex and so on, blah, 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 okay? But I think that if that natural outlet isn't there, and then you're also feeling this emotional bond with other guys, while at the same time, social media is conditioning you to look at other guys, right? Check them out. Oh man, look at his pecs. And it's not from like this lustful position. It doesn't start that way. Okay. It's not lust. It's like, it's envy. Okay. It's dreaming. It's wanting what they have or what they've done. And then you combine all this stuff together, and next thing you know, you've got this scrotum-centric lens. And this is not to be confused with a dick-centric lens. Okay, this is scrotum-centric lens. It's a lot weaker, okay? And then eventually you hear, and I've seen this on TikTok, where it's like buddies are like kissing each other. And they're like, no, it's totally fine and it's totally okay to kiss your bros. And I'm like, come on, like what is happening right now? And because they're like, up and down, they're like, no, I'm not gay. And then they like go and kiss their friend. It's like, what the fuck is happening in this world? So it's not a guarantee, okay? It's certainly not a guarantee. But the thing is that all of this put together, it takes you away. Oh shit. It takes you away Sorry, I accidentally locked my screen. It takes you away from being centered, being focused only on yourself. And that's more of a dick-centric lens, where you are just primarily focused on your own assertive, forward-moving, authentic, dominant masculine energy. And that's all you're concerned with. And because the thing is that when you have these gynocentric lenses, when you've been trained to see the world through the eyes of women, okay, like just what was the explanation? What did he say? A way of viewing the world that prioritizes the experiences, perspectives, and needs of women. So when you're conditioned this way, and you can see it, like, you know, a lot of young guys, you're easily triggered. You're very emotive. You're passive aggressive. This whole trolling thing, right? Trolling is like incredibly feminine. All right, it's not direct, straightforward masculine mindset. It's not direct, forward masculine behavior. So you've got guys basically communicating sideways, and what that does is it relieves pressure off of who you are, okay? Because you can easily say, oh, I'm just trolling. So you can say any outlandish thing in the world, and it can come off as just like, oh, I'm just joking. I'm just playing around. No, that's not really me. I was just trolling. And you can take people for a ride, right? Because it can be done in such a way that it seems genuine. And you know that you've not really presented yourself as genuine. What man does this? What man wants to come into the world and present himself as less than genuine, less than authentic? That's cowardice. That's the thing. You young guys, like your generation, you're full of cowardice. You're afraid of yourself. And then you want to sit around and say, I want a submissive woman. Make that make sense, right? That doesn't make any sense at all. You cannot be disingenuous and expect genuineness from others. See, that's the thing. And I was actually talking with one of my clients, over Telegram, because my guys, they have, like, once you become a full-time student, you have 24/7 access to me. And so he was messaging me, like, what's going on with his girl. And what was he saying? Oh, he was talking about ego, right? And the interesting thing about the way, the path, the way, the truth, the life, is that eventually you get faced with your own ego. If you're doing it right, you will. And it's kind of like, it's facing your dark side. It's facing the parts of yourself that you don't like. It's facing the parts of yourself that think you're better than you actually are. It's facing the part of yourself that has a vision and image of who you think you are, and you realize it's made of plastic. When you get through this is when you really start making solid footprints on the path. And he started coming into this realization, and he said, he's talking about, like, he was asking about leadership and things like that, and it was very simple stuff. It was like, she was just sending him unsolicited videos, and that's fine. Okay, that's totally fine. Like, generally, that's not like a huge faux pas. But in my world, okay, my girls, they ask permission. Like, they don't have just like carte blanche access to me. They say, sir or my lord, may I send you a picture? May I send you a video? May I send you a poem? May I send you a drawing? Whatever it is, because they don't know what I'm up to. They don't know if that would be disturbing to me. They don't know if I would like it. If, like, do I even care to hear a poem right now? You know what I'm saying? Or read a poem, because sometimes they send voice notes. So it's just, it's a kind way of just asking, like, hey, is it all right if I do this? And if it makes sense, if you think of it in terms of, say, like, old time kings and things like that. You just don't give whatever. You say, hey, are you available for this? Like, can I have your ear for this? You just don't have carte blanche freedom to send any unsolicited stuff. So my girls, they ask permission, and so I said, hey, just try that out, because I have the feeling that she would be into that, because they're just kind of like percolating the idea of a power dynamic. Okay, not necessarily something that's straight like BDSM, but they're kind of nurturing little bits of a power dynamic relationship. And it's really great to just see like the little seeds get planted and watch how they grow and all that stuff. But so, he's like, yeah, I don't really have that big of a deal, but she just does kind of send it whenever. And when you mentioned that, now it's apparent to me. It's like it's a part of my awareness. And I told him that, it's totally fine, like whether you tolerate it or not. And I said that it would be good if she said, like, if you don't mind, like, I would tell her that she should ask nicely before sending, like, sir, or whatever the title is, the name, may I send you a video? It's really, really simple. You could have it a higher pressure and just say, well, why are you sending me this? All right. And if they're already looking up to you, they're like, oh shit, like I didn't even realize that was some kind of mistake, right? Or if you wanted to add even higher amounts of pressure, you'd say, oh, very cute, but I don't recall asking for a video. And that would really kind of like twist the thumb screws a little bit. So it depends also on how much pressure leeway that you have, or just how much you feel like delivering. And since this is new, I suggested that he just says it in that way. That is just like, hey, this is cool, but I'd like you to ask permission, and and then give an example. And so that said, anytime you're giving a preference, or letting them know like a boundary or something that you expect, it's really, really important to lay out verbatim what you want to see or what you want to hear. And this is a test usually for the guy, because a lot of times it's going to kind of push up against your own conditioning. It's going to push up against this, like, oh no, I shouldn't say that to girls. Like, is she going to get upset? Or what if she doesn't like it? Or what if she doesn't like me anymore? What if this turns into an argument or whatever? And I say, why fear rocking the boat? Like, if this is something that you want, then just say it and deal with whatever comes. Okay. It's like, another one of my guys are talking about like sitting in tension with women. In order to do any of this stuff, you have to be comfortable sitting in tension. And it's one of the most valuable skills that you'll ever develop as a man. And if you want to be able to feel like a man and call yourself a man with a capital M, if you want to extend it further into the path of dominance, you most absolutely be comfortable in tension. To be able to sit within someone else's tension and sit there comfortably, not with resistance, not with mental gymnastics or anything like that, you having to talk to yourself or whatever, but you are just calm, relaxed, and sitting, whether it's figurative or literal. And that's really how you should be. You should be able to be still amongst any stimuli. Her being upset, her crying, her angry, her worried, anything that a woman produces of her existence, you should be able to sit comfortably within that tension and not feel it as tension. It's just something that is. And that's it. And once you're able to do that, then giving instructions is easy. Because you're not afraid of, like, there's already this assumption like, oh, okay, well, She could say no, or she could have pushback, or she could have clarifying questions. So what? Right? It's the resistance of and the fear of what might happen in the future is what's creating the tension. It hasn't even existed yet. So you're projecting your consciousness into the future, worrying about something that isn't even real. So it's best to be very present and being able to maneuver with what is happening in the moment. And so I was telling him that, once that starts happening, because it's good to, like, after you give a certain thing. So let's say, I'm him, and I say, hey, listen, baby, I love your pictures, I love your videos. It's very cute when I see you throughout my day, but I would like you to ask permission to send them first. I'd like you to ask nicely first. And permission, depending on the state of your dynamic, you might want to leave that out. You can just as easily say, I'd like you to ask nicely before sending them. And then the thing about that is that if she says, okay, like, oh yeah, that sounds cool, I'll do that, right? And, hopefully she already has like a certain level of deference to you, that she's willing to try these things out. After she does it, like a few times, right? After she does it a few times, then you have her reflect, okay? Because a lot of times, like, girls are not the best at self-reflection. And that's no knock on women. It's just there's too many voices, right? Guys typically don't have a lot of different voices in their head. Women have like a dozen or two different voices in their head. And it's hard for them to figure out which one is the guiding light. And so this is why you don't see like, the world's greatest philosophers coming from the minds of women. It's not to say that there haven't been. There have been some fantastic philosophers that were women. But by and large, it's just not a common trait amongst women. And that's okay. It's not, like I said, it's not a knock on girls. It's just how they are, okay? And so, but it doesn't mean they're incapable of this. And this is why it's helpful to ask reflecting questions afterwards. After she's done it a few times, you're like, okay, I can see she's getting with it, okay? Then you can say, hey, I notice that you're doing just fine and you're pretty consistent with asking before sending things. How does that make you feel, right? And depending on how she answers it, you can direct it in any number of ways, okay? But the whole point is to get her reflecting on her experience of your guidance, to see how that makes her feel about herself, like her experience of you, her experience of herself through you. And this stuff is really important, right? Because you need to have her grow in awareness, not just of herself, but of herself as it relates to your channel, like through your guidance. That's what's really important. You want to grow that awareness, okay? Not her independent self-awareness, her integrated self-awareness. That's what you want her to grow. And so this is where like leadership and guidance comes really good into play, when you can then follow it up with these reflecting questions. And then that gets her like really thinking about it, because it's just, like I said, not something they would just do, right? And so like with my girls, I regularly send them questions that are reflecting. Now, granted, they're already on my program. They're already sunk in. They're already at a high level of deference. They're already at in a state of obeisance, which is not the same as obedience. Obeisance is more of like the state that creates obedience. Like obedience is the action, obeisance is the state. Okay, so, but I want to keep them going deeper and deeper into that, and so I send them daily questions that get them to just kind of reflect for a few minutes, and then they'll write like a paragraph or something like that about whatever the question is. Okay. And there are various types of questions. Let me see if I can give you examples of what that looks like. But this is all like super helpful to the entire dynamic, right? So I've got like sections here, sections of questions. There's general, there's sexual obedience, emotional resilience, spiritual surrender. So, like here's an example. Like when you think of obedience, do you feel it as duty, as devotion, or as both? What does that distinction mean to you? Okay, very basic one. What personal fear or insecurity do you feel holds you back the most in your journey of submission, and how can you start to overcome it? That's another example. Let's see, emotional resilience. If I withdraw my affection temporarily, do you spiral or do you become still? What would resilience look like in that moment? Do you hold back tears because of pride or because of fear? How would it feel to weep in my presence without needing to be fixed? Let's see. Sexual one. In what moments do you feel most vulnerable and exposed, and how can you train yourself to relish in that exposure? What part of your sexuality do you still struggle to give without shame, and how can that be purified through service? When I command your pleasure, do you feel it belongs to me, or do you still hold pieces of it for yourself? So these sort of questions, like in the types of questions that they are, kind of gets them looking at themselves in a different way. And because the whole idea isn't about control or getting what you want, right? Because that's inevitable, right? That's just going to happen, all right? What it's about is peeling off her layers, okay? Getting down to her core, and then during that process, influencing her core, so that by the time you get there, with these layers off, there's just this pure connection, right, between you and that core. And of course, there's a lot of things that come into play, like trust and all that stuff. But it's not about what you gain. It's not about the control. It's about like growing something and watching it change and grow before you. And I guess that's going to be hard for someone to understand who hasn't ever made anything in their lives, who've never grown something or progressed something. And, that could be anything from your own physical fitness to a garden, to a painting, to a business, to whatever. Like if you've never like just taken something raw or just an idea or whatever, and then slowly made it happen and become a reality, you're not going to really get this. You're not going to understand the satisfaction, like the slow progress satisfaction that comes from taking a regular girl and bringing her into a joyful sense of free submission, where she has learned to let go of her ego. And so I was telling him, I said, these things really aren't about setting up rules or control. It's more about creating pathways to open up and inspire certain feelings in the woman that she wouldn't feel otherwise. Like she can't feel these certain things on her own. It's a certain type of feeling that comes about through the guidance of someone else. It doesn't necessarily have to happen through a man. But, since we're dealing with heterosexual women and heterosexual men, this is, how it happens. And he said, this is also what intrigues me about it. I've learned to get out of my own ego better, possibly from getting older, but also by learning from you. And I told him, yes, to allow her to fully express what's in there, like inside her, your ego needs to thin out. But not in the conventional way, not in the way that, like regular people say, like, oh, don't be egotistical. Like it's not like that, because that to them means to shrink yourself. All right. When someone says to thin out your ego or deal with your ego problems or, sort out your ego, what they're basically suggesting is to dim yourself. Okay. Shrink back, be smaller, be less obtrusive to other people. And that's not what this is. Okay. In the path and the way, they're thinning your ego is not the same as shrinking back. You don't change size, you change density. And those are two different things. And so I said your ego needs to thin out, but not in the conventional way. It's not to become passive or yielding or less self-important. It's different, and he'll see. And in that, you can help guide her through submission to a similar place, because the things that prevent you from being the grounded, centered, fucking immovable dominant that can be trusted is the issues you have around with your ego. And the problems that the woman has from getting her to the place of being open and soft and vulnerable and free is her ego. All right? And what they have to do is become thin. They have to become permeable. The ego has to become permeable. Things have to be able to pass through it. And in that, at first, it becomes painful. And that's what it is, because our egos really like to protect ourselves. They really like to hold on with what always has been. The ego does not like change. It likes consistency of itself because that's safe, right? It's like, I know this version of me. I know me. This is who I am. This is who we've been since forever. And when that sense of identity gets challenged in a little way, and you've been there in various situations where your sense of self or something that you hold dear to as an identity becomes challenged, it feels very uncomfortable. And this is one of those lessons of being able to sit within tension. Okay? Not sitting with intention, but sitting in tension. And getting comfortable with that, being completely fine with that. And you do it over and over and over again. And then it becomes not a source of tension. It's just something that's happening. And I was talking to another client of mine the other day about something similar. And he was like, we were reflecting about similar concepts, but something with having to do with a little bit more like abrasiveness between conversations between a man and a woman. And he has some of these with his woman. And I explained how I would deal with it. And he's like, wow, I don't even think in those terms, how to communicate in that way. You're really good at this. And he said, how did you get to be good like this? And I had to think about it. How did I get to be comfortable with intention? And I realized that it just has to do with being open and having repetitive experiences. Allowing yourself to be open to taking hits, right? Shout out to Steve, who's also streaming right now. He talks about getting punched in the chest, being all right with that. Okay, yeah, go. I really don't care. That doesn't matter. It's not actually going to damage me. It's just going to dent my ego. And I welcome those dents. I welcome them. Bring them. Okay? Because the more I try to parry and block and weave, sure, I'm avoiding the discomfort in the moment, but I'm only prolonging my illness. That's all I'm doing. I'm avoiding discomfort for that moment. But I'm just prolonging my long-term discomfort. So invite and be open to those, I would say invite them, but when they're coming, welcome them. And allow those hits to happen, okay? Because those hits thin out the ego, right? It's thick and it goes hit, 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 hit. Now, of course, we cannot live without an ego. It's just an essential part of our brain, okay? But it can be thinned out. And when it becomes thinned out, it doesn't meet resistance. That's the key position, is to be in a place of no resistance. Let it pass through you. Okay. And it made me reflect on my experiences with hand-to-hand combat. And I remember when I was a kid and just getting into martial arts, I really didn't like sparring. I was scared of it. Like, I didn't grow up in some like rough and tumble community where kids are getting in fights all the time and shit like that. So having this like head to head conflict with another person with their fists up and their feet and all that shit, that was really kind of shocking to my nervous system. It was not comfortable at all, like physically, nervous systemly, emotionally, none of it felt good. Okay. But I was like, I'm here, my teacher's looking at me like, yo, fucking get moving here. And I just kept doing it. Right. And I realized, like, if I get hurt, it's not going to be broken bones. It's not going to be cuts. There's not really going to be blood, possibly a bloody nose at worst. Okay. But I just kept doing it, over the years, just kept doing it. And then to the point where sparring I felt no more tense than when I wasn't sparring. It was just something that I was doing. It's like, oh, for now we're doing this, and now we're doing this. There was no shift, okay, because I stopped resisting, okay, and I allowed to be comfortable to sit in the tension of that kind of moment. And then my nervous system adapted. And it was like, oh, this really isn't that bad. This really isn't that big of a deal. Okay. Now that all shifts when, say, you go to a tournament, you go to a competition where they're really trying to harm you, or you go into a real world situation where you're not actually sparring or fighting for points. Like, they're actually trying to put you in the hospital or put you in the grave. Like, that's something you've not experienced before. So now you have to kind of do your best and adapt in that situation. But the thing is that we're not getting into those on a regular basis, and I hope you guys aren't either. But the point is that repetition, seeing it happen, and then notice yourself resisting the tension for fear of discomfort, for fear of what might happen in the future. And this is really where you have to kind of notice it and then get comfortable with it, and just being like, okay, I can sit in this. This is not that big of a deal. It's all right. Put your awareness on your breathing and just give a sigh. Okay. Sighing is a fantastic tool to use. Okay. Not like this, like, take 3 breaths and like cleansing, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Just one sigh. And you can do that now. And you do that and you can feel the tension just going and just dropping right out of your body. Sighing is it's like something that's like built in. I don't know what it is, just built into your system. And it will temporarily, like in that moment, relieve your body of tension. Okay. So just something to keep in mind. And the reason for all this is, and we'll kind of bring it back to like this, the submissive, is that you can't bring her somewhere you've never been. Right? And that's why I think it's so funny when I hear guys, bitching and complaining online about why, women aren't submissive anymore, right? Let's go back to the 40s. Let's go back to the 50s when women were women and they were submissive and nice and kind. I really like the style for girls back then. Like those, like the more like form cut tops with like the wide dress that was long, kind of ended maybe mid shin or just below the knee, updos and stuff. Like, that shit was cool as hell. Love that stuff. Very simple, very clean. I like it a lot. But anyways, it's just silly when I hear guys say like, this is what I want. And I know that they haven't challenged their own ego. Because in order for a woman to go there, okay, even if she has a great foundation from her upbringing of just having a respect and deference towards a man, okay, or towards her man, which started with her father, that's not real. That's not submission. right? That will bring you cooperation for sure. Okay. And maybe that's all you want. And I don't blame you. It's okay to say, you know what, Justin, all of this like psychological peeling away and freeing the woman from herself and, playing this like weird, meta superhero sort of thing. I'm not into that. I just want a cooperative girl. And that's fine. That's totally fine. That you just want a cooperative girl. And and I don't blame you like with the other stuff because it's a bit of work. I mean, it's nothing strenuous, but it's stuff that you have to maintain in your mind. And you can't have it unless you tackle your own version first. You absolutely have to tackle your own before you can teach somebody how to tackle theirs. And so I understand the desire to, or the aversion toward that, and saying, you know what, I just want a cooperative woman. And for that, I would say, then, just go find a girl who has that base. Okay. So what does that mean? That means don't interact with girls who were not raised without a father. Period. If her father wasn't in her life and is not in her life as an adult, don't mess with her. Do not give her any time. I don't care how attractive she is. Don't even, recreational, whatever, blah, 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 because doing that just devalues your dick. You're basically saying, I'm willing to give my dick to a woman who I think is subpar. What does that say about your dick? And what does that say about the person who it's connected to? Because it's not like you put it your dick in a drawer at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Like it is you. So if you're willing to fuck subpar women, what the fuck does that say about you? Right? So, even if she's really hot, like, because that doesn't make a woman more than subpar, just being good looking. It's like, God, there's fucking something in my eye. So, yeah, stay away from girls who have not been raised with a father. And not just a father, but the quality of the father. And you can see that. Like, you can really see it in behavior. If you interact with the girls who don't have dads and then interact with girls who do have dads, you can see a distinct difference. There's some kind of balance that's in the girls that have fathers. And let's just hope that he's not like some kind of wet towel, okay? Not like a wet noodle dad, like a real dad, okay, that she loves and respects and looks up to and like likes to hug him and, kisses him on the cheek on his birthday and, all kinds of good shit, okay? Like really prides in her dad, okay? You will see a difference. If that shit isn't there, don't bother with her. That's it. Just don't bother with girls who are like this. So, that said, just that alone will be a strong filtration process, all right? And if these girls aren't around you, well, then meet girls that are, okay, that do have this trait, okay? Because I promise you, it's just going to lead to headaches, just headaches. And, I was telling these guys in the group that, I was telling them that it's like, if she's not a yes, then I just don't want to deal with it. Like, if she's not a yes and I can sense her level of deferring to me, I really just don't have time. I really just don't. I don't even want to consider it. Right? It's like I'm, a business owner looking for an employee, and I can't really put my finger on it, but I'm just getting the sense from the potential hire that there's just something about them that's telling my gut that they're not going to be a good employee. I really don't know what it is, but my gut is saying to shake this person's hand and just tell them we're going to be choosing somebody else. And that's really what you should be doing, right? It doesn't matter what they look like on paper. They might have a fantastic fucking resume. But if you're getting this sense in your gut, if your balls are like, bro, no, don't hire this person, then you have to listen to your balls, okay? They're your magic spheres of telling the truth. They will know. Oracles that live between your legs. So the same thing is with girls. Like if you're just getting the sense, and this is what will train you to look past a woman's beauty. And this is part of the sickness that I was talking about. Like not only is it thinking like a woman and communicating like a woman, but also in the same way that women are fooled by pretty things. You too are fooled by pretty things. Do you see that? Like, what does it say? Women, diamonds are a woman's best friends. They love sparkly stuff, all right? And you do too, but just the sparkly comes in the shape of, nice glistening hair, smooth skin, a pretty smile, big doe eyes, nice round jiggly tits, small waist, round hips, and a bouncy ass, okay? Or and whatever else you're into, toenails or the shape of her thumbs, I don't know what the fuck. But all of that is the same exact thing as girls going, ooh, look at the shiny thing. Can I have that? Look at the fun experience. Can I have that? Bitch, no. And you kind of have to have that attitude with yourself, right? Where you're like, oh man, she's so hot. Look at that. Look at that dime. Look at that dime piece. Bitch, no. Because it's not really that important. All right? Not really that important. Because if she doesn't have the right attitude, the fuck do her looks matter? Right? Like who's like, you have to be the biggest fucking loser if you're willing to fuck a girl who's treating you like shit. Like how low is your self-esteem? How bad do you need to prove yourself to your friends that you can get chicks, right? That you basically have to stomp your balls in a fucking dresser drawer because she's hot. Because that's what that is. That's what happens when you are sacrificing your dignity, when you're sacrificing your principles for a pretty face. You might as well just put your balls in a fucking open dresser drawer and slam that shit. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. And your spine turns into rubber. You can become a contortionist. And that's how these guys get twisted into shapes trying to please pretty girls, right? They see pretty girl and their spine gets softer. They react to them. They get softer. They start talking to them and complimenting them and all that shit, buying them stuff. Their spine gets softer and softer. And everything they do, their spine becomes softer and softer and softer. Till the point it's like overcooked spaghetti. But I suppose that guys just have to go through that sometimes. You have to go through feeling like a fucking fool. And, I've had my moments. I'm sure a lot of guys have had their moments. But as guys have become more and more like women, they're avoiding these things, right? They're not running towards the bullets. They're not allowing their ego to take those dents. They're like, no, that's going to hurt. I don't want to feel that way. I don't want anyone to see me, right? Because you're all very much becoming visually sensitive. I don't want anyone to see me making a fool of myself. I want to see myself feeling foolish, looking like I took an L. I don't know if you know this, but my generation, my previous generations, and so on, into previous generations, we are very good at taking L's. That's what we do. And I think that at some point they're like I said before, it's just welcoming them. As well, come on, bring it. Bring the fucking else. I don't give a fuck. Right? Because you just know that that's part of the process. I can't imagine anyone saying, I want to become a prize fighter. I want to become like a Golden Globe or Golden Gloves prize fighter. And but not take any hits. I mean, as good and as slippery as he is, even Floyd Mayweather has taken a few in the head. Right? I've seen him get caught up. It's not common because the dude is fucking a genius, but he's gotten caught, and it'd be stupid to get into boxing and think, nah, no one's gonna hit me. It'd be stupid to go into boxing and not welcome getting hit, in the sense that like, oh yeah, that's just what happens. That's just part and parcel with what boxing is getting hit. It's not just hitting, it's getting hit, and accepting that that's a reality, that just is something that happens. But a lot of you young guys, you're just like, I don't want that. I don't want to feel that kind of discomfort. I don't want to feel that pain. And you're saying, I would rather be a woman. Look at the soft life women have. Look at all the, and this is what you guys say. Look at all the advantages they have. Look at all the social structures they have from when they get in trouble, or when, you know, things are going bad, and they have these groups and they have these government agencies and this and that and this and that. And they say it almost in an envious way. Like they want to be taken care of in the same way. They want to be afforded the same rights. They want to be afforded the same privileges. And it's like, are you low-key saying that you would just rather be a woman? Is that it? Is that it? You just want that soft life. You want to be taken care of. You want people to give a shit about your feelings. Is that it? You want people to care? Oh. I can only faintly hear the voices of, you know, someone saying, who hurt you? Nobody hurt me. Life is just full of suffering, you know, in varying degrees. Some high, some low, somewhere in between. That's life. And as men, it's part of your existence. I wouldn't even say duty, but it's part of your existence to accept that. Accept that discomfort is part of life. And the more comfortable you make yourself, the more avoidant you make yourself, the more feminine you make yourself. And that's fine, right? I'm not telling people what to do with their life choices. But you can't complain. You cannot, no man is allowed to complain with the outcomes of their choices. So that's just the way it is. You're not going to get away with it because you can't cheat the game. There's no way. Like, the house always wins. There's no way out of it. So whatever choices you make, stand on those choices, okay? But don't fucking complain that, you know, women aren't finding you. Well, they're not finding you at all. That you're basically become invisible. Don't complain, okay? You've basically made yourself part of their ranks, right? And like, why would you stand out? You've assimilated into womanhood or something similar. It's like womanhood adjacent. It's weird, man. But hey, you want to do that? Fine, but just be quiet. Just be quiet. I don't think I've ever heard my grandfather complain about anything, even as he was dying. No complaints. Because why? But all you guys do is bitch and moan and complain and criticize and judge. Like, literally, the manosphere has turned into a giant hen house. That's what it's become. It's not full of men. It should be called the henosphere. Because it's one giant chicken coop with a bunch of hens in it. And they're bitching and moaning amongst each other, right? And then they're also bitching and moaning about the other hen house across the way. Because like factions have developed in the henosphere. Factions have developed in the henosphere. And there's these little groups, and like, this group doesn't like that group. This group was talking shit about that group, okay? And they're like, everybody is in everyone, they're like little chickens. Little hens squawking and squabbling about one another. That's what's become of your manosphere. Right? Like, even people who try to stay out of that shit get pulled in. People attempt to pull them in. Or they want to talk shit about other people, like, oh, look at that guy. No. And then they're like, oh, look at that motherfucker over there. He's doing this, he's doing that, he said this, he said that. And it's like people not even trying to be in that shit, not even trying to be in the manosphere, and they get pulled in. It's fucking crazy, Like, a good example is Lucario. He's not part of this henosphere. He, just does his own thing. But people routinely try to, like, pull him in. Like, people from the hen houses try to, like, criticize him and goad him into coming into that bullshit. And it's not going to work. But it's just funny how that's done. Sorry about that. And that's just another example, the hen houses, of how women will make you sick. All those guys, all those big podcasts where they, focus on women, sure, it brings in the money. It really, really does, okay? Because birds of a feather flock together, right? Hens love hanging out with the hens. They love it. And so ideologies will band together, even if what is banding them together is false, right? So let's say, the FNF or whatever podcast guys, or whatever, any of those guys, they don't actually believe the things that they talk about. Let's say there's a 180-degree difference between what they put out in the world and what they actually do in life. Like when the cameras are off, which would be really, really interesting. But something tells me that that's not the case. If it was like that, it doesn't matter, right? Because it's just the message that brings people in, and is just to take you. It's just to take you for your mind, take you for your money, take you for your time. That's all it is. It's just manipulation for the sake of, gain. And, and it propagates the whole henosphere. It propagates thinking and feeling and perceiving the way a woman does. And so basically the entire manosphere is infected because all they do is get together, bitch and complain about girls. And I'm thinking, like, this is just a few steps away from saying, hey, it's all right to kiss your bros. Like, on the mouth with tongue. There's just a few steps away from that. Like, I've seen TikToks where, like, friends, just straight guys kissing each other. And like, yeah, it's totally fine. It's not gay. It's just, I'm thinking to myself, I bet if I were to sit and talk with these guys just for a little while, I could find the disdain for women that they're holding. They're holding the disdain for women somewhere in there. And it might not even be a deep dive. It might be just scratch the surface and go, oh, there it is. He fucking hates his mother. He has resentment towards his mom, and he just hates girls. He's invisible, despite, possibly being good looking. It's his mindset, it's his behavior, it's how he feels about himself, which is connected to, your father and your mother and all that stuff for sexual experiences and or lack thereof. And all of that plays a role. And it's all just one big sickness. One big sickness. Guaranteed my grandfather, when he was a young man, didn't sit around and talk about this shit. Like, there's so much data out there. So many voices at one time. I bet if you were just sitting in a room with like thousands of monitors, each, able to pull up a different browser, and you open up YouTube, you could find simultaneously just probably millions of videos all talking about the same shit. Women, 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 women. And I know I'm being hypocritical here with my title, Women Are Making You Sick, but really this is about you, right? So I'm playing the game as well, but just a little bit. Because really, I'm not here talking about women. It's just to pull people in with the word. But the thing is that that's what'll happen, right? You've got these guys who have this sickness. They have disdain towards women and also want them at the same time, that's got to be a really, really difficult way to live. To both love and hate someone at the same time. Like, you want to choke them and you want to fuck them. You're dying for a hug from them, but you want to knock them out at the same time. Like, that's got to be really tough. Really tough to live that way. And I don't want to be there. I'm so glad that I'm so glad that I was born in the generation that I was. Because you guys have a lot of suffering to sort out. And, you just kind of keep consuming it over and over, So if you don't want to think like this, if you don't want to have gynocentric lenses on your face, the first thing you can do is avoid consuming anything having to do with women. That really is the easiest thing that you can do. Just don't stop on any Instagram reel or video or post or any TikTok page or any TikTok post or anything in your Find Me feed or anything in YouTube as their suggestions or anything like that, okay? Don't even pause on it, because the algorithm reads your pauses as well, okay? So if you're like kind of scrolling through the Find Me on, say like Instagram, and you pause and watch the preview, it records that and goes, they didn't engage with it, but they paused right here on like these series of videos. Oh, he paused again on the same kind of video. Oh, now I know that this is because of the sectioning and like where he's pausing. I know that this is the common denominator, these kind of videos. Oh, what kind is that? Oh, it's the kind with the, the chick in scantily clad clothing bouncing her tits on the screen. Okay, so we'll just progressively send him more of that. Okay? You have to control the situation. You can't just passively not want this stuff in your head. You can't passively remove the lenses from your face. You have to take active, conscious, decisive, consistent action to control what the fuck gets inside your head. That is the first step. That is the very first step to not having gynocentric lenses. Because the longer you keep them on, it's not like your life is going to improve. It isn't. Your life is not going to fucking improve by thinking more like a woman. It's not going to make you more grounded. It's not going to make you more centered. It's going to make you scattered. It's going to fracture your identity like fucking Voldemort with the Horcruxes. That's exactly what he did. Thinking that it would make him strong, but actually made him weak, because it opened up different places of vulnerability. And Harry, Ron, and Hermione just went around. They killed that one, killed that one, killed that. Now, it wasn't easy, obviously, for the sake of the film. But it opened him up. It was like, oh, these are various ways one can bring me down. And he thought he was being clever. Okay, you're not being clever by thinking like a woman. You're not an ally. Like, that's not going to get you more pussy. It's not going to gain trust. Okay, you know what really gains trust? Emotionless firmness. That's what gains trust. Like, like for example, like you hear about like shit tests, okay? And guys are like, "Oh man, shit test, blah blah blah." Really, they're not that big of a deal. Would I would I prefer that they don't even exist? Sure, like that. That's that's preferable. And my girls don't do that. They know better, right? Because they're already in a position of deferring to me, and they're, if you want to talk frames, or they're living in my frame. But a lot of guys, and I have experienced this myself, of various tests, and I came to realize that it wasn't really, for the most part, it's not really a form of disrespect. Okay, because disrespect has to do with shape and architecture, like law. When you break the law, you're disrespecting the law. What most people refer to as disrespect is really just your emotions. You're just basically saying you hurt my feelings, and that's not respect. But anyways, it's not, the shit tests aren't really about respect or disrespect. What she's doing is she's just checking to see if you're firm or not. If your spirit, your will, just your presence is firm. Hang on 1 second. But yeah, I was reading this thing. I'm trying to find it, where it's just about testing. It's actually something that I wrote, but I don't recall where. Ben's craves. But yeah, I mean, like that's basically the point. Like, the testing isn't there to disrespect you. It's to see if the firmness that she perceives is actually firm, or is there some emotional Tasmanian devil behind it, or does it just fall over when she just gently pushes on it, right? With what one might consider, a slightly like insulting comment or something like that, or a backhanded comment, and it's like, well, are you gonna fall? You're gonna fold? Are you gonna bitch out? You're gonna get upset? Are you gonna react? Basically, you know what I'm saying? Like, that all is what she's doing. She's just looking to see, because there's plenty of guys out here who are masculine presenting, right? They're trans masculine, and it's hard, right? I think it's probably hard for girls to really determine who's a man and who isn't, like who's actually a man. And the thing is that pretty much every guy is gonna say, well, I am actually a man. Like, who wants to say, well, no, actually I'm not. I'm masquerading as a man. I wish I was a man, but really I'm just a coward with tons of insecurities, and I mask that with bravado and being overly assertive. Like, who's going to say that? It actually might do you some good. But yeah, nobody's talking like that. So the girls have to test. They have to see. They're like, wait, is this really? The Japanese have the word toronoko, which means paper tiger. Like, is he a real tiger or is he a paper tiger? Is he a toronoko? And I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of that. So pardon me, any Japanese speakers. But, the thing is, it's like, that's why the testing is there. Because Who wants to put their trust into someone who only appears to be solid, right? And the thing is that they've experienced it before. I know I'm like kind of like sympathizing with women here, but it's just explaining the realities of it. I don't have any feelings towards the situation, but the reality is that women have entrusted themselves a portion of their spirit, a portion of their will, a portion of their heart, like just enough where it wasn't led and then caused a lot of harm. And so from that point, the naivete has been broken. And they're like, oh, wait a second. So some guys might look like men, might behave like men, and sound like men, maybe even smell like men, but they're not actually men. They're not actually leading. They just want to fuck me. Well, okay, I got to figure out, like, well, what's the difference between the two? And, these days, with the power of the visual media, is that there's more and more and more guys masquerading as men. They're wearing the costume because the fact of the matter is that they weren't raised right. They weren't raised with a father who actually showed them through example and sometimes through explanation of how to actually show up in the world, how to actually stand with both of your feet on the ground. And it's not with the volume of your voice. It's not in what you've done with your life. It's not a doing thing. It's a being thing. And that's where this shifts. That's really what separates the wheat from the chaff, is those that know how to be and those that know only how to do. And it's the same thing with power dynamics. Doing this stuff doesn't make you into a dom. Sending commands, being stoic, being tough, being hard on her, this, that, and the other. Like, this doesn't really make you into a dom. It won't change who you are. It won't change your insecurities. It won't hide the fact that you're scared of girls. It won't hide the fact that you have resentment towards your mother. It won't complete you as a man, even if she ends up on her knees. That's the thing. You still have these very powerful gynocentric lenses on, even though you're the one holding the whip. Because deep down, a lot of times, and I've seen this, they're really just trying to get back at their mom. It's a twisted, fucked up shit. A lot of the stuff, like the real motivations behind relationships, behind sex, behind even BDSM, are just unresolved feelings, which makes the motivations not pure. They're not cleanly coming towards something. And this is the part about having to work your ego down into transparency so that you can tell that you're bullshitting yourself or not. That's why it's important. And another one of my guys, he's coming into this. He's coming into being able to even see his ego to then where he can perform audits. But if you're operating in it, it's like asking, like, do fish know that they're in water? Probably not. They're just like, oh, this is just where we are. Just like you don't really think about or realize that you're in air. Like air it's a material. It has mass. It's sort of like water, but the molecules are further apart, so it allows us to breathe. But we're in something, which is why if you take say like a long ruler and swing it through the air like a yardstick really hard, and it goes, makes that sound because it's rippling through the material that we're in. It's rippling through the mass. But we don't think about it because we're just like, this is it. Like, you don't think that we're in a substance, but we are in a substance. And this is largely like how guys go about thinking. They don't realize that they're in this way. They don't realize that a large part of their motivations for sex and relationships and power dynamics and all that stuff comes from unrequited, unresolved emotional problems. But they think, hey, I'm getting all the pussy, so look at me, everything's fine. And look at all the guys who are complaining about not getting any pussy. That means I'm better than them. Yeah, but you're all coming from the same emotional motivations, which is fear and aversion to pain. I mean, I can't guarantee that for everybody, but I've been doing this job long enough to know that it's a majority, that it's super fucking common. Even the guys who are like, oh, I'm marriage minded. No, the fuck you aren't. You're fear minded. You're gynocentric minded. You're completely conditioned. Marriage minded. You're just trying to make yourself sound like a fucking ally so that women will accept you. Why are you so concerned about women accepting you? Why are you concerned about being attractive to women? Why are you concerned about gaining their attention? Because you think like a woman. That's why. That's what girls do. Men, no, we just do the things that we need to do. How can I be more attractive? What? Like, that's a feminine way of thinking. Now, if you're all right with that, and cool, again, you can make your choices. You can choose whatever the fuck you want to do in this life. As long as it's not hurting animals or children, I don't care. But don't complain about the results of your choices. Ever. Do not complain. Ever. Because you are in control of the vast majority of the variables in your life. And you're absolutely in control of how you respond to them. So, if whatever happens and you're complaining, you're not in control of shit. So, just chew on that. Start with observing yourself. Start with observing how you respond. Start observing the things that you gravitate to on social media. Look at your search history. Look at your watch history on YouTube. And look at it through, if you have it turned on. If you haven't, turn on your history right now, like on your YouTube history, and let it go. And see how many videos you've watched that have to do with analyzing or criticizing women, or how to be more attractive to women, or how to get your girlfriend back, or how to fix a dead bedroom, or how to understand women, or how to make women go crazy for you, or how to get women to be obsessed over you. And note down like the total amount of videos of, say, like 3 months that you've watched, and then see how many of those have to do with what I just mentioned. And then look at that number. That will tell you more truth about yourself than, well, I wouldn't say anything, but it will tell you a lot. It'll tell you how fucking obsessed you are with pussy, how much you worship it. So, and you're gonna, well, and that's the first hit. That's the first hit to your ego, is to really see yourself for what you do, because that indicates how you think. This is the bad thing. Excuse me just a second. Actually, I'll just uh, I'll just run this. What do we see? What we got here? Okay.
Welcome to the Dominance Academy, where we specialize in revitalizing manhood and leadership. Our approach focuses on developing men to lead with strength and passion, enriching their lives and their families. We provide practical solutions and expert guidance in the realms of sexual education and the mysteries behind polarity and structured power dynamics. Join us at thedominanceacademy.com and restore harmony to your home while rediscovering the joy of a fulfilling masculine presence. It's time to step into your role as a leader and as a man. And now, the host of the show.
All right. Sorry about that. Thank you for waiting. Yeah, there was that section in there about practical applications. You know, I was talking to this guy. I'm trying to get on his show. He runs a domestic discipline podcast on YouTube, and I also follow his Substack. This guy's like really into spanking. Like it's his jam. Like he's really into spanking, and not from like an obsessive sort of thing. Well, maybe a little obsessive, but he doesn't run away with the obsession. Like it's fairly well organized and orchestrated. And he even has like girls come to him to get spanked. Like I don't know if they pay him or whatever, but you know it is what it is. But I'll tell you, like a good weekly spanking does wonders for the relationship. Abso-fucking-lutely. You know, a number of my clients have tried this in their marriages and in their relationships. And while there are other factors involved that go into that peeling the layers to get to her core and all that stuff, the spanking absolutely helps. And it's because it's a matter of like just trying it. It's trying it in defiance to the woman's ego that says that's beneath me, that feels infantilizing, I'm not a child, this, that, and the other. Okay, and just saying, okay, you know what, I'll try it. And then there's always, I've never experienced other than a profound shift in the woman's behavior. An absolute profound shift where maybe she's uptight, she's a little bit aggressive, she's a little like, you know, just stiff, okay? And a few minutes of spanking, it doesn't have to go on long, there's a 180-degree shift. And like I said, this is no guarantee, but I've never experienced it, nor have I ever heard of no woman ever having anything other than a 180-degree shift where they become relaxed. They're, for the moment, stress-free. For the moment, worry-free. For the moment, softer, more compliant, more easygoing, stressless. It's profound. And I don't really know what is going on. I don't know what it is. It's probably for women, just like it is with many things, a combination of experiences. You know, just the simple act of spanking, just like the nerve stimulation, the heat that gets developed, the pain, you know, the repetition, the various thoughts going through the head, the feedback that can happen. You know, like when you've got like a microphone too close to a speaker. Like all of this is, you know, probably causes just a reset, right? Where just things get so rattled that it just kind of like, it's like restarting the computer. And it's a relaxing thing to restart the hard drive. It's just a matter of getting to that point of like, hey, let's try it. Let's just give this a go and see what happens. And, you know, and not out of play, not like, oh, let's do some spanking in the bedroom. No, as like a separate and distinct act. It's like, okay, dinner's cooked and ready, okay, but before that, because we're not going to do this on a full stomach, we're going to take 10 minutes and we're going to have a spanking. Not for anything, like not for being punished, not for, not as a reward, not as anything. Okay, it's just a thing to do, like kind of like going to the gym. All right, it's not a punishment, it's not a reward, it's nothing. It just is what it is. Okay, and and it has a incredibly transformative appeal. You know, once they can experience it, and then that's at the point where you say, "How do you feel right now? Tell me what's happening in your body, right? Tell me what you feel emotionally." And again, guiding them towards reflecting on themselves as an experience through you, right? And you can get them used to this, get them used to reflecting on something new that they've done, or something they've done consecutively, right, and consistently, and then after a while of that, doing the same thing. How does this feel in your body? How does this feel in your emotions? To get that self-reflection going, right? Because that's what you want to build. You want them to realize, oh, the way I'm feeling right now is through you. You are the conduit to this, whatever feeling it is, whether it's relaxation, stimulation, excitement, arousal, all of it put together, whatever. It's just that making those connections and going, right? And her body's going, yeah, I feel great because of him. My emotions feel great because of him. So you're constantly having to lead. I'm not sure what this is about. I understand the pain behind voice experiencing the same. I don't know what that means. So you'll have to expound on that if you want me to really comment. Yeah. No. No, you will not experience a peaceful, happy life unless you choose to be a monk, because regardless of whatever your choices are, at some point you will have to face yourself. And that's the only reason why you're running away from women, is because you're afraid of yourself. You're afraid of the truths that get exposed of you to you by way of women. That's why you want to stay away from them, because they reveal you to yourself. It's really hard to see. That's the thing. Once you become even slightly self-aware, pretty much everything becomes a mirror. Everything. And women become an extra powerful mirror. It's a very shiny, bright, clear mirror. And if your ego can't handle it, you'll say, let's run away from women, because that's my mode of peace. Peace, like as I mentioned in many other videos about stillness, has nothing to do with what happens outside. It has to do with what is happening inside, with complete disregard for what's happening outside. Your state of peace and your state of happiness have everything to do with you and nothing to do with what's beyond your skin. Nothing. So this is, this just shows that you're very much attached to women and you don't know what to do. And so your only recourse is to try and run away. But as one of my teachers, who's my Kung Fu teacher when I was leaving the temple to move to New York City many years ago, and he said, Justin, remember, wherever you go, there you are. And because he wanted to make sure that I wasn't running away from myself all those years ago, and to understand that I will follow myself around like my own shadow. You can't escape your own ailments. You can't escape your own psychology, right? You can hide it, you can numb it. You can hide and numb with stimulation, right, from media, food, even exercise, sex, any sort of consumption, consumption, or drugs, alcohol, sleep. These are all forms of consumption used to numb yourself, right? When brought to excess. Okay, I'm not saying all exercise is a way of numbing yourself, not at all. I'm saying that when it's brought to a point of excess in any of these things, it's often used as a means of coping with living in your own skin, right? Which would indicate that there's a certain degree of not liking who you are, not accepting yourself, and rejecting yourself. And it's got to be a really hard existence to live in, to be living in this vessel that no matter what you do, you can't escape it. I mean, unless you off yourself. Like, that's really the only option, right? And I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying that, like, that's the only real escape. Otherwise, you're just coping. And even that in itself is a cope. It's just, there's nothing after that cope. That's like the ultimate cope. So it's like you have no choice. You can either go through life and constantly choosing various means of numbing yourself and coping, or you face yourself as you are, and you face the world as they are. You face women as they are. And what I mean by as they are means void of judgment, void of criticism, void of perspective, void of your feelings, just as it is. Like if you're, say, like walking in the woods and you're walking along, say, like the bank of a lake, and you look down and you see a frog. Like, do you have judgment about the frog? Do you have any feelings about the frog? Do you have any perspectives about the frog? Any philosophies about the frog, or criticisms about the frog, or a desire to run away from the frog? Let's say you have no, outstanding phobias. No, you just look down and your brain processes, oh, frog. And then you move along. Or you might get curious a little bit and squat down and like look at it a little bit, and maybe reach out with your finger, and it sees you and jumps in the water, right? But there's no judgment there. You're just seeing it as it is. And until you get to the point of being able to do this with yourself, being able to do this with women, with society, with everything that's around, everything, then you're never going to know peace. You're never going to know, what did you mention here? Peaceful and happy life. You will never know it. Because as I was talking earlier about the ego and resistance causing anxiety and pressure, internal pressure, having all of these things, judgments, criticisms, perspectives, philosophies, beliefs, right, that are contrary to what is, it causes internal friction. It causes pressure, causes resistance. Okay? It's a wish for things to be not what they are. Women should be like this, right? No. If you can get to the point of just being free of these things, life gets pretty light. Life gets pretty light when it comes to the things you're doing, the people you experience, what's going on here or there. It's just, everything becomes like that frog. It's just something that's here, just something that is, and it has no bearing on how you feel about yourself. Does the frog change how you feel about yourself? No, it shouldn't. Like, that would be silly, right? If you got back from your hike and you meet up with one of your friends, and they're like, hey, how was your hike? And he's like, yeah, it's pretty good, but I saw this frog and now I feel like shit. They'd be like, what? Why? Oh, I went to touch it and it jumped away. Yeah, but isn't that what frogs do? Yeah, but I wanted it to stay. I wanted to pet it. It's like, well, that's not what frogs do. They're not used to humans, so yeah, they're gonna jump in the lake. So now, because of your desires, your beliefs, your expectations, your judgments, maybe you think that frog was an asshole, right? It's not comporting with what you expect of reality. And now you've got tension. These bitches out here doing this, doing that, I believe that they're going to have this future. I believe that this is what's the reason why they're doing this. All of that is just creating tension. You're just creating your own suffering. And that creates further suffering. Then you go off, make something about it. You write a book. You write a song about it. You make your own podcast about it. Right? And so now you're further creating suffering and then extending it for other people to consume so that they can increase their suffering as well. Isn't that wild? So really, Avinash or anybody who wants peace, it's actually not a means of acquiring, it's by way of letting go. Just let it go. Like all that shit that you believe about women, all that shit that your philosophies, your gripes, your criticisms, your judgments, even if all of them are correct and you deserve some sort of award, that doesn't change a damn thing about you. Let's say you put it all together and you get some kind of recognition. Holy shit, Bob, you figured it out. You know what women are about. You know they're up to no good. Your paper about this, that, and the other, solid, bro. And you're recognized for your criticisms, your analysis, your beliefs, your judgments. Okay, now what? You're still stuck with you. You're still stuck with the you that created all of those judgments to begin with. Because if you didn't have those judgments, if you didn't have those painful attachments, due to old stuff stemming back to your own mother, if you didn't have that mother wound, if it was healed and sorted out, forgiven, settled, then all of that stuff would never have been created. You wouldn't need it. So therefore, all of your mental machinations, they didn't really solve anything. Sure, you got recognized for all of your wonderful posts in the comments of all these videos. Someone gathered them together and said, "Holy shit, Bob, you are fucking brilliant. You really know how to tell women off. You really know how to judge them well. My goodness, your criticism is sharp as a razor. You deserve the Hemisphere Award. We only give it out once every 5 years, and this year, it's you. We honor you." You're still stuck with who you are. You haven't actually gone anywhere, and you haven't actually done anything. You've just figured out, profited off of your own suffering, which is really fucking weird. You've been recognized as a smart sufferer. Congratulations. You're still suffering. That's not the way to a relaxed life. I tell my clients that I don't really have thoughts. They're like, "What?" I don't think. I don't think unless I turn on thinking. My brain is not spinning around with, pinballing a whole bunch of shit unless I will it to. And it's not a pinball. It's just like, oh no, this is the track that it needs to be on. This is the thinking that I need to do because of a project, networking. I'm developing something. I've planned something. I'm working out with somebody else on a project. Like there's something tangible But if there's nothing, no task like that, it's just fucking quiet. Like, what else would I have to think about? You know, my obligations are taken care of. I understand what needs to be done, this, that, and the other, whatever. And that's it. There's no ruminating, bouncing, erratic, energetic thoughts. It's quiet. Because I let go of everything. Why do I need to hold it? There's no benefit to holding things in your head. It doesn't make them solve faster. It doesn't make you, figure them out, right? I mean, if there's something to figure out, you set aside a time to do it. You grab a notebook or your laptop and you put some dedicated focus towards figuring something out. And then that's it. But to have thoughts just like bouncing around, like a fucking dozen gerbils having a fight to the death, like that, just it's unproductive. It's a waste of energy. It's a waste of space. And this is what happens when you let go of things. Just let it go. Let it go. I mean, I wish that Frozen hadn't ruined that phrase. Like, you can't say that phrase without hearing that fucking song. So fuck Disney. But, or was that Disney? I don't recall. Pixar? I don't know. But that's really the way to peace, if that's something that you want. And you should want that. You should want a calm existence. Calm mind, calm body, calm spirit, right? Because when things are calm, it's really easy to put them into place, to center something, right? Like, imagine there's like a hole in the ground and you've got this long pole. You're trying to like drop the pole into the ground. You're like laying like a fence post or something. And let's say there's like a really tall ladder, and on that ladder is one of your friends, and they've got a hammer, and they're hitting that pole over and over and over again. It's like a 12-foot pole, and it's vibrating all the way down the thing, okay? Just clang, 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 and you're at the bottom sitting there trying to fit it into this exact hole, that the shape of the pipe, all right? It's going to be really fucking hard because it's vibrating all over the place. When there isn't that stuff happening, the pole is still, it's going to be so much easier to line that up and just boom, drop it right in. When you have less chaos happening in your head, this is what allows you to drop those pillars in, to basically to arrange your minds the way you want it to be. This is why I'm harping on you guys to cut out your distractions, which incite chaos. Okay? Getting on TikTok and doom scrolling incites a chaotic mind. You will not find a peaceful mind by doing that. So with Instagram, YouTube, and that's not even considering, that's just the structure of things. That's not even considering the content of said structures, which further causes chaos because it takes your mind and it influences it and separates it and tosses it out into the ether. All right? So it's like double. Like, even if you're just watching Cats, okay? The very structure of these elements causes mental disruption. Now, it's not Cats. This is shit focused on, criticisms, anxiety driving stuff, fear driving stuff, anger driving stuff, frustration driving stuff. So the content doubles these things. It makes it even harder for you to focus your mind and drop your pillars into the ground where they need to, so that you stand strong, you stand tall, you stand calm, right? This is what develops what I call the mountain mind. You can't have a mountain mind while, and be constructing it while also having all these fucking distractions and noise. It's not possible. It creates a shitty fucking base. It's like, if you're pouring concrete, if you ever poured concrete before, and your water ratio is off, it's going to be fucked up. It's not going to be strong because you weren't paying attention. I thought I did that this weekend. I wasn't pouring concrete, but I was doing something similar. I was making epoxy resin because I had made these carbon fiber air intakes for my motorcycle, and I wanted to put an extra layer of the epoxy resin. You got to have the resin, and then you have to put in just like little bits of the hardener, and it's like with a special ratio. And if you put in too much of the hardener, it actually makes the epoxy hot, and it cures too quickly, and then it can sometimes burn and like catch on fire, or at the very least it makes it crack. And if you don't put enough hardener in there, it never truly cures, and it's just like tacky forever, because resin never will dry, never. All right. So I was fucking around. I thought I fucked it up, but I thought I didn't put in enough hardener, but I did. It just took a little bit extra time because it's been so humid. But anyways, I hope that you guys are getting an understanding of my point here, about the sickness, about how women are making you sick, how you're allowing yourself and encouraging yourself to be ushered into thinking like a woman. And that's not a knock on women at all. Okay, I love the way women think, but I don't want to think like them. That's going to upset the balance of the universe. That's going to upset the yin yang. Okay, I don't need more yin. Like, I've got just the right amount, which is a tiny dot. That's all you need, is just a dot. Okay, that's it. And so I hope that you understand this, that there's a lot of elements at work that are plaguing an already weakened mind. And this is not good. It's disrupting things. I really think that, that our society is in trouble. I think a lot of cultures are in trouble. Countries are in trouble. I think it's South Korea. South Korea is fucked. Japan is fucked. What other places are fucked? There's a number of countries that are fucked already. Because the men have given up. The women aren't interested. And so no babies are being born. And you need 2.1 children per person to, I think it's 2.1, in order to maintain society. Because otherwise you have not enough babies to grow up to take care of infrastructure, and you have a growing elderly population. And what's sad is that there's no one going to be around to take care of them, to take care of us, right? Because whereas AI is developing very fucking fast, and so some systems will be able to be taken care of by that, but robotics is not developing fast enough, because AI can't pave the roads. AI can't build bridges. AI can't build skyscrapers. Okay? They can't come and change your water heater. They can't fix things in your home. So there's a problem. There's a problem with men and women getting together. And you cannot, as I explained, it's very gynocentric of you to sit back and say, well, this is fucked up because women are fucked up. All right? Heal your fucking mommy wounds and grow up, pull up your pants, wipe your nose, and get to work on yourself. And not for the sake of gaining women. Okay? That'll happen. It shouldn't even be a thought on your mind. It really shouldn't at all. This is that should, I wouldn't say it's like the furthest thing from your mind, but it should be pretty far out. It doesn't produce fruit. Thinking, obsessing, judging, criticizing women, it produces no fruit. And it might feel that way, either vicariously through some other guy who's doing it, or if you're actually in a position where you're putting a woman in her place who's not actually your woman, which means you're wasting your fucking time. I hear it from time to time, like on Clubhouse or whatever, some guy who's like, and he tries, or sometimes he succeeds. And then guys are like, damn, I'm like, what did he gain from that? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nothing at all. You gain nothing by trying to put women in their place, trying to figure women out, judging them. You gain absolutely nothing. It's just you get an emotional bump, so it feels like it. Just like this, like a quick shot of cocaine. And you're like, whoo, you get high real quick, and then 20 minutes later it goes away. It's just like that. So in the moment it feels invigorating. It feels like you've done something, but you've done fucking jack all. You've done nothing. You've made no dent in your life. You've not progressed anything. You've not brought a new idea to someone's mind. You've not opened someone's heart. You've not progressed past your own limitations. All you've done is fucking criticize a frog. That's it. That's all you've done. Congratulations. You're the big man on campus now. Oh, Jesus. Yeah. So I hope in my ramblings that some of this made sense and was able to, I don't know, maybe inspire some reflection on your own. Because that's what really this is. That's what really the game is geared towards, is self-realization, self-actualization, self-understanding. And maybe you can work your way towards forgiveness, work your way towards nurturing, work your way towards supporting just yourself, from yourself, so that you can fill your own cup such that you don't need filling from anywhere else. And then you realize if it comes from you, then you are an endless wellspring. You're an endless wellspring that can fill your own cup indefinitely. Like, somebody's in trouble if you hear a guy say, "My woman completes me." That is a dangerous thing to hear. She completes me. It's like, wait, so until you met this woman, and you're like 35, you've just been living life incomplete. Whose fucking fault is that? Or do you believe that that's just like the default position? To just live life incomplete until you meet someone else who's not connected to you at all. They're not blood, right? And just somehow they complete your existence. That to me sounds fucking wild. Absolutely wild. How? That's so strange. They complete me. Like, again, more gynocentric conditioning. Like, sure, let the girls say this. Oh, he completes me. And fuck, my ego would say, yeah, of course I do. But to hear a man say, she completes me. Like, come on, man. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? That says you're not reliable. Like, something that is not complete is not reliable. Like, yeah, I'm building you a custom motorcycle, but it's not complete. You can have it anyways. They'd be like, is it safe to ride? I don't know. All I know is that it's not complete. I made you a chair, but it only has 3 legs. Is it safe to sit on? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I'm driving from New York to California, but I chose to stop halfway. It's like, okay, so like, what happened? I don't know. We just stopped. It's incomplete. The trip is incomplete. It's like, how can you be seen as reliable? Like, children need you to be reliable. You can't be someone who has other people complete them for them. It just really doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. You cannot be reliable and competent and grounded and also need someone to complete you. Like, what the fuck does that look like? What does that sound like? What does that feel like as a man? Like, to be walking around and feeling incomplete. What the fuck does that mean? Does it feel like half your brain is missing? Or well, no, you know damn well it's an emotional thing. Like, I didn't know that I was capable of this love until this woman came around. And it's like, let me guess. This is the hottest chick you've ever fucked, isn't it? I bet you $500 this is the hottest chick you've ever fucked. And that's why you think you're fucking soulmates. Or soulmates. Yeah, any dude who's saying he's found his soulmate, that's fucking insane. Because first of all, since the beginning of time, not a single person has established the existence of a soul. I'm not saying it's not there, but those that are saying that there is there, they've got quite the burden of proof, and it has never, ever, not once been met. So, the jury's still out on that one. So, if that's not solidified, how the fuck are you guys walking around saying I found my soulmate? Make that make sense. And when they do find it, it just so happens to be the gender of your preference. It just so happens to be the age that you like to date in. It just so happens to be somebody in your country. Not necessarily your country, but in your town, in your city, in your neighborhood. The chances of that, if it did exist, is like 1 in 60 billion, 100 billion. Like, don't you find that fishy? That it just so happens to meet all of your fucking preferences? Yeah, right. I know a Nigerian prince that's going to give you $1 million. All he needs is your bank account. Oh, gosh. Like, see, again, remember I was talking about judgment, seeing things as they are? Okay? This also includes fantasies. It also includes beliefs to make yourself feel better. To make sure you got the nice fuzzy feels. Okay? Thinking like that is a fucking privilege. An absolute privilege. You know, I was remember I was watching that like reboot of Sex and the City. You know, where all like the girls are old and shit, and they all have their faces are full of Botox. Sarah Jessica Parker still looks like a fucking horse. And one of the ladies, I forget her name, like her daughter is, you know, questioning her identity and stuff like that. They, them, she, it, whatever, you know. And I'm looking at this and I go, gosh, what fucking privilege to sit around and go, I want to consider my gender. I want people's language to change so they can, help me feel better about how I feel about myself. And I get that. Like, hey, some people get confused. They want to question things. That's fine. But understand, this shit is a fucking privilege. Like, do you think some little kid in Afghanistan who grows up knowing how to fire an AK before he can drive has the luxury of thinking he might be something other than a boy? So just understand, like, all that shit is fucking privilege. You're not going to see this in stressful countries, war-torn countries, disease-ridden countries. Oh, there's cholera around, but yeah, am I a girl? Are you kidding? There's an Ebola outbreak, but I'm trans. It doesn't make any sense. Like, that shit it's all fucking privilege. Absolute privilege. And by the way, all that, like, that new, is it a movie or a series? I can't remember. The new, like, Sex and the City shit. But it's all interwoven with fucking woke shit. It's all woven through. It has lost the spirit. Like, the original Sex and the City, a lot of it was actually quite good. Good writing, good programming, and you can see, some crazy bitches in New York being crazy. It was, like, entertaining to watch. Like, this new shit, it is not entertaining. It is awful. Absolutely awful. It's like, why is this a thing? Like, you're out of material. You're like, oh yeah, let's focus on non-binary topics. It's like, what does that have to do with these characters? It's I don't know. Anyways, all privilege. Like, all the problems that you've got, as a man, fucking privilege. To sit there back and whine about, no girls are talking to me. I don't get any likes on TikTok. You fucking little, yeah, you're acting like a little girl. Like, girls these days are tougher than you are. Like, little girls. My teenage daughter is tougher than, like more emotionally and mentally resilient than your average 20-something-year-old today. That's fucking crazy, dude. That they're not even, like, on equal playing ground. Yeah, it's messed up. It's all messed up, But like I said, it starts with taking control of what the fuck you consume. Because every little bit of it just kind of erodes your foundation. And it keeps things very, very active in your mind. You ever find that it's hard to go to sleep? Because just your brain will not shut the fuck off. So you got to take melatonin. You got to drink a beer, right? You got to take Ambien. Like the sleep drug industry, like non-prescription and prescription, has increased dramatically over the past 10 years. Why? Because your brains are fucking overstimulated. You no longer are in control of your own mind. So you want to be a man, like, with a capital M? Start there. Start by reclaiming your fucking brain. And stop handing it over to all these other systems. That's the very first step in becoming competent and reliable. Now, if you want to just say, fuck, I don't care if anybody relies on me. Fuck everybody. That's cool. You totally can have that mentality. Okay, but again, with your choices, don't complain. Don't complain that no woman trusts you with her soul. Don't complain that, like, all you get is just some half-baked pussy from a girl who, like, halfway kind of finds you attractive. Don't complain if people don't put their trust into you for anything. Right? So if you want to fuck off the world's going to fuck you off just right back. And don't be a bitch and say, well, they started it first. No, you started it with yourself first. You started it with yourself. With self-rejection. Yeah. All right, I'm going to leave it here because I've gone over. 2 hours is too long for my shows. I don't know how the fuck Steve does it. You know, back in the day, just shout out to Steve. He would do streams for like 5-6 hours. That's just crazy. 5 or 6 hours, you know. But shout out to him. Salute to Steve, you know. But yeah, 2 hours, that's beyond my max. You know, for you kids with your TikTok brains, you can't fucking watch something longer than 20 seconds. But anyways, thank you for joining me here on the live. And for those of you, thank you for watching on the replay. If you want to set up a call for your free consultation, it's in the description of every video. So I look forward to hearing from you. And you guys have a great rest of your week. Take care.